Good evening, good evening, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whenever you happen to be listening to this. It's your girl, Shy Rosalind, and welcome to another episode of It Happened One Night. It Happened One Night is a branch of the YouTube Street Guide. I am a humble explorer on these YouTube streets, and It Happened One Night is definitely um, best described as a fleshing out, as you will, of something that's trending on these streets. And tonight we're going to talk about, well, what could be considered a continuation of my Tithe is Right series. This will probably be the last installment of that series. There are several other content creators way more qualified than I am to discuss this further, but I'm going to present some of the basic information and you guys can take it wherever you want to take it. So, before we get into it, a little bit of housekeeping. Of course, the usual copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance. This particular presentation is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Respectful comments are always welcome, as well as subscribers. And subscribers are always welcome. Sharing is caring. Likes are free. So, with that being said, let's do a quick recap of my previous two videos concerning tithes and tithing. Tithes are usually customarily thought of as 10% of a person's income. Tithes are usually, some churches are once a month, some churches are weekly. Actually, most churches are expecting something weekly. Churches are not required to report the church's income to the IRS. Also, a church may or may not present a financial report to the congregation. Usually, it's done to the trustee board, and if there's any discrepancies or questions, the trustee board is responsible for investigating and working on any discrepancies in the financial reports. Tithes are usually used for maintenance of the building, salaries of the maintenance staff, pastoral staff, such as the church secretary, um, others who are maintaining the building, repairs to the building, and other expenses, which may include a salary to the pastor, um, as well as charitable giving, such as food drives, back to school drives, donations to parishioners who are in need, that sort of thing, marketing to bring in more members into the church, um, along those lines. To rumors, which I discussed in a previous episode, they're not required biblically. Biblically, they are not required. And more discussion in detail on that is in my previous episode regarding the tithe is right. So tonight, uh, we're going to focus on a few things that are being talked about amongst the churchy YouTube streets. The first one I want to bring up is the Detroit Holy Money Pit. Now, this particular issue does not necessarily fall under false prophets or anything like that. This particular issue is the Perfecting Church in Detroit, Michigan has, had begun construction on a new building. It was supposed to be a new sanctuary, and I think a fellowship hall. This construction started approximately 20 years ago. It is not finished. The outside is a shell. Basically, there's nothing done on the inside. Now, there's been some talk in the Detroit area that there's construction has restarted. At one point, the city of Detroit had offered to buy the land back from the church, so that they could, so that the city of Detroit could put whatever they wanted to put on it. And Pastor Bishop Marvin Winans said no. He had a vision from God. God told him to build this church. 20 years in, it ain't done yet. There was also an issue of the grounds not being kept up, the fencing around the empty shell of the building was not proper, and the city filed a lawsuit, and that was resolved. And the church has supposedly restarted construction on the site. Here's part two of the problem. Bishop Winans has not been well. In the past week, he collapsed at Bible study. He came on live 2 days later and said that he was okay, that he had been checked out, that he was going back to his doctor to look into it some more, but he was feeling good, blah, blah, blah. So there's two issues going on. One, he has been building this church for 20 years and ain't done yet. There's pressure from the banks to make sure the loan payments are made on time, because if the loan payment is not made on time, the bank's going to snatch that property back up. And the fact that, let's face it, Bishop Winans might need to take a vacation. Take a sabbatical, dear sir. Because if he falls out, and God forbid he falls out, who's going to take over this whole thing? Who's going to take over the church? So there are two issues going on with this particular money problem out in Detroit. Now, we should keep Bishop Winans in prayer. We want him to have a nice, long, healthy life, but he needs to take care of himself, because if he can't take care of himself, this whole thing is in vain. And his parishioners did step up. He had asked them, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, for each person to donate $1,000 towards making that loan payment. Quite a few people did donate the $1,000, and I don't know if he made it the full amount, but apparently it was enough, because I have not seen or heard anything more regarding the bank wanting the property back. Oops. So, excuse me. So, that being said, we're going to move on. So, this is the bulk of what I wanted to get into tonight. We're going to talk about the infamous Reverend Ike. So, Reverend Ike, if you are a person of a certain age, you might remember seeing him on television. I don't quite remember seeing him on television, but I do remember my mother made the mistake of sending in $5 for a prayer shawl. They sent back this little sad piece of cloth and said, send back the piece of cloth with another $5 and she'll get a special blessing. She never sent it back. So, Reverend Ike is known for being one of the first prosperity gospel preachers. And he has, let me just show you. Okay, so, whoops. So, Reverend Ike, as he's known, 1935 to 2009. His real name is Frederick J. Ikerin Cotter II. I hope I said that right. He is known as one of the first prosperity gospel preachers. There are several others who were around at that time. Um, I believe Kenneth Copeland is one of them, and there's another one. I can't think of his name right now. Um, Reverend Ike's philosophy, he called it either Thinkonomics or Prosperity Now, which is basically the teaching that the root of evil is a lack of money and that people should use positive thinking to become rich. So, um, thus he has the flashy cars, the flashy homes, um, and his thing was people should be positive thinking. And if you think positive about your life, you too can amass a fortune at some point. Um, he was on television through the 1970s. His church was based out of New York City. And as I mentioned in a previous episode, one of our favorite seed askers, it was one of his mentees, the lovely Archbishop Bernard Jordan. Um, Reverend Ike is the forerunner of tithes and seeds. And I had to do a little digging because a lot of stuff about Reverend Ike is from way back. And by the way, his son, also named Frederick Ike Eichenharder, has taken over his ministry and is continuing the positive thinking gospel. He's There's not that much on him. There's some YouTube videos. There are books that are still out. There is a Reverend Ike Legacy website. I believe I think his son runs the website. So if you are interested in delving a little deeper into Reverend Ike, that would probably be the first place to start. There are some sermons on YouTube, I believe. I don't know if they're the full sermons or excerpts, but you can also look there. That might also be a good place to start. So what I did find was a old blog post from this person, Ken Miller, and he had um he had sent in one of those. I think he sent in a prayer cloth, and it came back, and Reverend Ike's form letter said that he should send back. I think it was a glow in the dark cross. He needed to put $20 in the envelope and send the cross back to get more blessings. He didn't quite do that, but then he got another form letter. And this particular form letter, which the picture I have here, is the picture of what he got in the mail. And it's a request from Reverend Ike for a seed. And he says, and I'm quoting from the story, the last sheet in the package was made of these three of these money seeds. And that's the picture above. You only have to think about what you want. Write it on the seed, sign on the line that states, I am excited, and send it to Ike with a real $20 bill once a week for 3 weeks, and you'll get what you want. Salvation on the installment plan. Of course, you have to send money because when you give, you prove God. Otherwise, how would God know that you really wanted his gifts? This, my friends, is the father of seeds. Seeds that don't grow. He send back $20 with this fake $20 bill for as a money seed. Now, further on in the article, Ken Miller also states that he got another request for a seed, and the request said, one request was for good health, another one was the uh was it lucky and love seed. There were different names to the seeds, and that does that ring a bell, y'all? Seeds with different names. How about the Renaissance seed, or what was that name? Hold on. The renewal seed, the proper placement seed. Sound familiar? It should sound very familiar. Um, because those are names of seeds that our dear friend, well, y'all friend, not mine, Larry Reed puts on his seeds. Every week, a different seed, and almost every week, a different name to the seed. Straight out of the Reverend Ike playbook. So, I'm going to talk about more about our dear friend Larry in a moment. Well, your friend Larry, not mine. But I wanted to bring up the new kid on the block who has taken asking for seeds to demanding seeds to a whole new level. This gentleman, Keon Henderson, he has basically blown up on Cat Williams' internet for a sermon he did last November. And the clips are now going viral because he just crazy. Now, the actual sermon that everyone's quoting and clipping from is titled All About the Benjamins. It was done He did it in November of 2023. This was before the church was damaged in the storm, and before he started asking his parishioners to send in um to $2,100 per person. Oh, this is way before then. So it's just interesting how he was misguiding people about tithes way before. And this, I consider this also a play out of Reverend Ike's handbook. I don't know if he's ever studied Reverend Ike or if he's heard of Reverend Ike, but I'm telling you, it's straight out of Reverend Ike's playbook. However, the plot twist is that he's not saying specifically, send me money and you're going to get blessed. And I mean, he does say that, but not the way Reverend Ike did. He's actually yelling at his congregation to give money. And the way he's saying it is why it's gone viral. Um, so I managed to get hold of transcript. Um, the church, his church is the Lighthouse Church in Texas. They don't have this sermon on their website anymore. They actually tell people to go to YouTube and look for it. However, the transcript is on the church's website. So I was able to pull up the what he actually said from the transcript. So, in part, he says, and here's the other problem with the church is that anytime a person is in need, y'all go running and dropping money. But let me tell you something. The poor will be with you always, and there is no blessing connected to blessing the poor other than getting back what you gave to them, but no multiplication. Boom. That's a Reverend Ike thing. Reverend Ike was all about send in this much money for this many weeks and you'll get back more. And here's Keon Henderson basically saying the same thing. If you're giving to the poor is not a blessing, will not be a blessing to you, which of course is BS. I mean, even me, little old me, I am not a theologian. I am so rusty with Bible verses. It's not funny. I haven't been to mass in over a year. I'm trust me, I'm not qualified to pontificate upon which scripture is what, but even I know that's bullcrap. I know that ain't right. You're supposed to take care of the poor. That's what we are supposed to do. We are not supposed to expect anything in return. Remember the other episode when I talked about the teruma? It goes back to the Old Testament. The rabbi said the teruma is supposed to be a gift that is freely given. Nothing is to be expected from the giving. And here is this boy. Well, he's younger than me, so I can say that. Saying that giving to the poor it will not be a blessing for you. And then he goes on to say, multiplication is segregated for tithes and offering. When you give to the poor, the only thing you do is help them, but you don't help yourself. So when you give $1 to somebody on the street talking about, I did my job, God says thank you, but it ain't going to help you. Read your Bible. Charity does not bring wealth. No, it's not supposed to. Charity is supposed to be the free giving to those who are in need. Only the tithe does that, multiplying. Matter of fact, if you don't believe me, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to preach on it. And then he goes on. The Bible says the tithe rebukes the devil, not my prayers. I don't know what Bible verse he's talking about. He never said what Bible verse he was talking about. Never mentioned it. I went to um uh the one of the YouTubers I'm going to mention at the end of this episode. He's listed in my sources. He played almost the entire sermon. Ain't not one chapter, not one verse. Keon Henderson spouted all this stuff. He tried to tie it back to the story of Joseph being in Egypt, sending for his brother Benjamin. Joseph refused to send Benjamin to Egypt because in Joseph's mind, he already sent Joseph, and Joseph is presumed dead. He doesn't know Joseph is alive. Then another son was held back, and in Joseph's mind, the other brothers, they already messed up twice. I'm not going to send my youngest. So, of course, this is where the title comes from. And he turned this story into you have to release the money in order to get what you need. That has nothing to do with giving to the less fortunate. So I don't know what Keon Henderson was trying to do. And then, like I said, this was last November. So here it is, almost November 2024. His church was damaged in a storm. Goes online and asks his parishioners to send in each parishioner to send in $2,100 in order to gain. I think he was looking to get $4 million so that they could restore the church. Now here's the kicker: the church had insurance. The insurance company would have given them enough money to restore the church to where it was before the storm. Well, he didn't want to do that. He wanted to basically rebuild the church, but he wanted to make it bigger. That's why he wanted the $4 million. Got a lot of backlash, folks. A lot of backlash. So apparently, from what I've heard, I haven't been able to confirm it, but from what I've heard, the insurance company did grant what they did cover what they needed to cover. I don't know if he got the 4 million. I think he did, but I don't think it was all from his parishioners. So that is that. But this whole I don't even want to call it a sermon. I'm just going to call it a rant. This rant from 2023 is another nod or tip of the hat to Reverend Ike, because some of what he said sounds exactly what Reverend Ike would have said. So it's this thing of seeds and you need to send money to get money. This is nothing new, folks. This is going back to the 70s. Um and these ministers who are insisting on tithes and what they may or may not be using it for, this goes way back, folks. It's nothing new, but they're just putting a spin and a twist on it. So now we get to the fun part. I promised a quick update on your boy Larry Reed, and I this is basically a final seed count because I am no longer a member of his Patreon, so I no longer have any access to what's being collected every week. But through September 29th, let me just double check the date. 22nd. Yes, through September 29th, 2024. The monthly count and total are on the screen. Um excuse me. The left side number is the number of people who donated, the right side is the number of the money that was collected. And May through September, there was a total collection of $588,420.34 collected. Now there was a dip in July. There are 2 weeks in July that I don't have the seed count for, and I believe it's because he had the Reformation conference at the end of July, and I don't have any seeds for those 2 weeks because they did the pledges at the event. So I don't have that information, but it looks like it jumped up in September. August and September there was a jump in donations. So and it looks like he gained some more people donated. Um it looks like June and September were his best months. So I'm not sure why that is. Maybe he just happened to reach more people. Um, It looks like definitely after the Reformation experience, more people were donating. So we're not sure. I can't quite figure it out. But that is the update I have for you guys. Take it however you want to take it, speculate however you want to speculate, but those are the hard numbers, folks. So our boy is still collecting quite a bit of money, and this is just seeds. I did not do a Taruma count because I only had 1 month of the Taruma. There were 591 people giving Tarumas in July. I, of course, with the Tarumas, there's no way of knowing the amount each person gave because it depends on the income. So, one person could be giving $100, another person could be giving $1,000. There's no way to know because they don't provide that. So, take this as you will. Um, if anyone out there would like to comment or if they want to provide a little extra information, they're more than welcome to reach out to me. But that's what I have for your boy, not mine, Larry. So basically, some of our favorite pastors are either on a roll or in a pickle. We have Keon Henderson, who um, Cat Williams' internet is putting on blast because of what he said back in November. Um, there is the Gateway Church, which I just heard about a week ago. Their pastor was Robert Morris. I think his son tried to take over and his son quit as well. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But with Robert Morris, there is about $5 million unaccounted for, according to the books. So there is a big question of what happened to that money. Um, the their certified public accountant actually disputed it because he said what was collected didn't make sense to what was spent. There's a big discrepancy going on. Um, Reverend Morris went and said that if any parishioner was not happy with what was going on with the tithes, they're more than welcome to get their money back. Some of the members went to court to get their money back because they were not happy. And unfortunately, it looks like they can't get their money back because the church bylaws say they can't give money back because if they gave the money back, then it would no longer be a donation. It would kind of be almost like a loan, and that means the church is going to get into trouble with the government because they don't get taxed. So that's a mess. Then we talked about Keon Henderson. Um some other things that he mentioned in that infamous sermon. Um he's I'm paraphrasing, but it is in a sermon. He says, if you don't give God your 10% first, you're going to just end up giving it to your doctor, giving it to the repairman, the bail bondsman. Why he would say that to his parishioners, I don't know. And he says somebody's going to get this 10% and it won't be you. Keon Henderson is sometimes he's just one angry man. Um, the background of the sermon was $100 bill. The background on the altar was $100 bill. And it's not just him. There are a bunch of folks out there, not necessarily prophets or false prophets, but there are people out there, just plain old pastors, and out there yelling, cajoling their congregations to, you're not giving enough. um, God's not going to bless you unless you bless the church. That seems to be the running thing amongst these other pastors, and it it is an angry version of what Reverend Ike used to tell people. Reverend Ike used to say, "Well, if you send me money, you're gonna get something. You're gonna get something." He didn't. He was slick, but he wasn't angry. Keon Henderson and these other ministers are angry. They're literally scolding their congregation to donate. It's crazy out there, y'all. It just makes people not want to tithe. And either they're not getting it or they're just getting so desperate that they don't care. And that's the sad part. So, as I mentioned before, we have Reverend Ike, who is one of the godfathers of the prosperity gospel, who mentored Archbishop Jordan, who the Prince of Seeds. Well, no, he's now the King of Seeds, and your friend Larry Reed is the Prince of Seeds, but Bernard Jordan is the King of Seeds because he doesn't do anything without asking for a seed. He doesn't do appearances without putting in a seed. We all know that. We all talked about that on the last episode. But that that is basically the genealogy of one leg of the prosperity gospel. Now, as I said, there are other ministers out there who are, like Kenneth Copeland is one. Um, oh shoot, who's the other one? Joel Osteen has been rumored to be of that lineage to prosperity gospel, even though I don't really think he is. I think he's more of just like a motivational speaker. I don't think he's like prosperity. He may be adjacent, but I don't think he's like that's his main thing. Um, there's another one. Uh, well, Juanita Bynum. Yeah, she is. Is she the one that said, "Is that all?" Yeah, I think that's her. So yeah, she's one, and um, there's somebody else, and his name's not coming into my head, but that's what's happening. And like I said, with Reverend Ike, it was, if you give, you're gonna get this back. And nowadays, it's like, you need to give. What's wrong with you people? So, who's to say what will happen in the future, though? Who's to say whether these churches are gonna realign, or maybe they're just gonna, people gotta just leave and start over someplace else. Um, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like I said, I'm not a theologian. I can't discuss these things in depth because I'm just not qualified to do so. I'm just presenting the bare bones basics. Y'all can go search on your own, ask questions on your own, um, and see what you come up with. Um, and I would love to get some comments. If I need, please correct me. Um, if you want to expand and talk about it some more in my comment section, please do. I'm going to recommend these sources. All Things Theology, he's a great source. Um, don't quite agree with his politics, but he's a good source as far as theology and questioning these people. The Sir Walter Jones show, who I was trying to think of before, he also discusses and presents it with a theology um, lens. He's also a good source. And Matt Church Disease, who he his discussions are more on the, because he's had personal experience with some of these people, so it's more of a personal side. Like he knows people and knows stuff that most of us wouldn't know. um but I would definitely recommend visiting his channel as well. um the Ken Miller article, if y'all want to do some diggings, it's there, it's listed as well. And the all about the Benjamin sermon, like I said, it's on YouTube somewhere. But if you go to the church's website, you will not find the video. However, the transcript is there. So you guys can read what he said, and not just rely on seeing what he said. So, anyhow, um, that's that's it. That's all. I appreciate y'all watching and sharing. And please, comments are welcome, likes are free, sharing is caring. It is not required, but if you are interested, you can follow me on Instagram. That's usually where I put my YouTube stuff, my YouTube street guides, head any kind of heads up I have for a video coming out. That's where you would follow me. And if you are so inclined, it is not required. My Cash App is listed as well. So if you feel like making a contribution, go right ahead. It will be greatly appreciated. Um, if you have a show idea, if there's a YouTube street you want me to take a walk down and see what's going on, you can reach out to me through Instagram as well, or put a comment under the video and I'll look into it. I did a couple of videos on Heckle and Jekyll, aka Fresh and Fit. There's a lot going on with them too. Lord, they're getting banned every which way. And I did a little trip down the Manosphere lane. I did that once before. I think the Manosphere is falling apart. Um I'm thinking about doing something on dating, just to walk down the dating street. Um so that might be a thought. So just let me know what you think. I am really curious as to what y'all would like to look at next. And until next time, be safe, be happy, go outside, get off the computer, get off the internet. Let Cat Williams let Cat Williams predictions like lay down for a little while and go outside and play. Put your feet in the grass. Go suck up some sunshine. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Again, thank you all so much for watching. And please, like I said, comments are always welcome. Sharing is caring. Likes are free. And I will catch you all on the next one. Peace.